Good afternoon, learners and parents. I am Betty Gilomere-Rousseau, EP Media publisher and regional editor. EP Media is a division of Media24 and distributes 5 free express local newspapers across the Eastern Cape to over 200,000 households every week. I would like to welcome and thank all learners and parents attending this webinar, as well as the panelists for taking the time to advise our youth and leaders of the future. Due to load shedding and adverse weather conditions across the country, we might experience some technical issues, but we have made backup plans. This series of career webinars, sponsored by Isuzu in South Africa, is aimed at equipping and empowering high school learners across the country with information to make one of the most important decisions of their life. This is the third of a series of 6 webinars, which will be presented once a month. The recording of the first 2 career webinars, which focus on career guidance in general, as well as on the Isuzu Chair of Mechatronics at the Nelson Mandela University, are available on the Express Facebook page. All the webinars are recorded and can be used by live orientation teachers in class for those learners who could not attend the live webinars. The benefit of attending the free live webinar is that you have the opportunity to ask questions to the expert panelists, and you can win a prize for your school. So today's webinar is about artificial intelligence and the 4th industrial revolution. The next career webinars presented by Isuzu and Express will focus on education, which will be broadcast on August the 19th, journalism on September the 23rd, and logistics on October the 21st. The panelists selected for this webinar are experts and people who work in the field of artificial intelligence. Not only do they represent the Nelson Mandela University, where I studied, but also Media24, of which EP Media is a local newspaper division. So you may ask, what does artificial intelligence and a media company have in common? Well, we will be giving you the answers throughout this webinar. I was also quite surprised to learn that artificial intelligence is not only something you will find in manufacturing, banking, and other high-tech companies, but it affects every operation and institution who is part of the future and the 4th industrial revolution. So without further delay, let me introduce our panelists. First up is Prof. Jean Greilen, who is head of the Department of Computing Sciences at Nelson Mandela University. Welcome, Prof. Greilen.
Thanks. Looking forward to talking to you from a cold and beautiful Wolseley in the Western Cape, but looking forward to the next hour.
Thank you, Prof. We also have Adam Cook from Media24, who heads up the Future Skills program for Media24 employees. Welcome, Adam.
Hi, Betty. Thanks very much. Looking forward to this afternoon.
To tell us more about their learnings from the Future Skills program, we have 3 Media24 employees who work in the field of computer science as well as data engineering and science. They are Monica Mayeka, who is a data engineer. Welcome, Monica.
Hi, Betty. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to this session.
Welcome. Like we've said, we've got panelists from across the country. Kevin Pryor is also a Media24 colleague, and he's a software developer, and he's joining us from Carnarvon.
Hi there, everyone.
And then we have Alex Jacobs, who is a data scientist. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Alex. So before I start asking our panelists questions, I would like to remind you that you can also ask the panelists questions by typing your questions in the live chat. First off, we would like to show you a video of former students of Prof. Greilen who are working in the field of computer science.
Hi, my name is Ashley Els. I am a software developer as well as the staff development lead at S4 Integration. This means that part of my job involves training and coordinating learning for the software developers at S4. However, my main function is as a software developer, in which I write, edit, and review code for software solutions. I have worked on a variety of projects involving many different technologies across a variety of industries. I believe that computer science is a great study choice because it provides you with many career paths in a large variety of industries. Technology also forms an important part of our lives, and thus these skills are in high demand. Computer science allows you to form creative solutions to many unique problems in a large variety of industries.
So I work in computer science. I work for Global Kinetic, which is a financial technology company. At Global Kinetic, we make cool software, and I do the automation testing for that. So as you're aware, or maybe not, we do have kind of software developers who build the applications. So the software developers can be, say, specific to, say, a platform like Android or iOS, or they do web development, or so front end or back end basically can be separated as well. So I just do automation testing for all of that. I do automation testing for APIs, for front end, database testing, a whole range of things. But what's really cool is I also write code. Yay, I don't want to feel left out there. But yeah, so with QA, so we call that QA, which is quality assurance. So we're just making sure that the software that we have in our applications is working as expected all the time. And we've automated that process because we used to have it as manual, where you'd click around websites, but now we have automated that process, so we write code to test our code.
Hi, my name is Mark Stubbs. I graduated with my computer science honours last year from NMU. I think IT is such a good field to be in right now because it's something that survived the pandemic. And if you look on job placement boards like LinkedIn or Glassdoor, you'll still see tons of IT jobs available, and still jobs for junior positions, which I think is really unique. That being said, IT is a field with lots of room for growth and individuality. Whatever you enjoy, there's probably a career for it. Whether it's UI design, front-end work, back-end work, database stuff, sort of being a solution architect, or even just handling support. I think that's something big that you don't get exposed to at varsity, is all the different paths that you can really take and how interesting and diverse it really is.
Hello, my name is Nosivono September, an alumni from the Nelson Mandela University Computer Science Department. I graduated and became honors in Information Systems and Business Management in 2017. I believe that a career in computer science is a good choice because the IT knowledge is actually a skill that is in demand in actually most of the sectors, whether it's in health, in retail. So many sectors need some sort of computer knowledge. And I am currently in payments technology, where I monitor the transition of money from one bank to another. I am pursuing a career in data, which is one of the most trending technologies that are in demand, where companies make decisions based on data and actually predict the future trends. We have actually seen this with the COVID-19 statistics, where many countries use the data to actually predict the increase of the spread of coronavirus.
I think right now you have to work and you have to study, because if you don't, you're really going to be left behind. I know it's hard to say because I can't, myself, I'm not in that position. I can't imagine how hard it must be to just be watching videos and getting exposed to everything like that. But that being said, it's something you have to do, and I'm sure you guys can do it. I know it sucks, it's another way of putting it, but it's something you have to do, and you all have the rewards.
What I would say to students and learners in computer science is that now is the time to actually work hard more than ever, to actually upskill yourself beyond the classroom knowledge. The market is looking for you and your skill to actually better serve the world through technology. And lastly, if you want to succeed in your career in IT, make sure that you find yourself a mentor, someone who is in the industry that you are interested in, to mentor you and help you to succeed in your career.
Finally, I'd like to share some motivational words with you. I believe that hard work and perseverance are the keys to success. Never give up on your dreams and goals, especially during these tough times. And as Albert Einstein said, life is like riding a bicycle. In order to keep your balance, you must keep moving forward.
That's so true. We must keep moving forward, and that's what the fourth industrial revolution is all about. So, Prof. Greiling, having heard from your students, my first question is to you. Please tell us more about your background in lecturing computer science, as well as the work and projects that you do to introduce computer science to learners at schools.
I must admit, it's very nostalgic for me to sit and listen to my students, our students, and that's one of the main reasons why I enjoy my job. We get to interact with the cream of the crop, brilliant guys and girls that come to our department and to study computer science. I've been literally in the department since 1984 as a BSc computer science student then, and I started lecturing in 1992, mainly in programming, also mainly first year programming. And it's lovely to be in a discipline where you know you are educating learners, our students, for careers that are so scarce at the moment. So we are educating our students, and we know that they will find jobs. The skill of computer science, of programming, and all the others that go with it is one of the scarcest skills in South Africa, and we'll talk about that later. So in our department, we mainly teach BSc and BCom degrees. But we're also very aware that we are in the Eastern Cape, one of the poorest provinces in our country, and there's literally thousands of schools in our province that don't have computers. And my students have often said to me through the years, Prof, we need to get to those learners. We need to get out to our friends in the townships and the remote rural villages of the Eastern Cape and talk to them about computer science and programming. So we've developed a tool called the Tanks Coding app, which we use to introduce kids to coding without the use of computers. It was developed in 2017 by an honor student, Byron Batterson. And using this tool, we've reached out to about 20,000 learners across the country. And it's very effective to show learners at schools what programming is about. People can contact me if they want to find out more about that. Thank you very much.
And that is so important because I think access to computers is so limited, and especially in the Eastern Cape, in the rural areas. And to be able to teach them about computers without having computers is a wonderful opportunity that you are giving learners. So Prof. Greiling is basically is very focused on teaching students and learners. Adam, who heads up the Media 24's Future Skills program, is basically introducing future skills and equipping people already in the Media 24 workplace with skills for the future. So Adam, please tell us more about the Future Skills program for Media 24 employees. Why was it introduced and what does it teach them?
Well, the Future Skills program is really, it teaches skills in innovation. Any big company needs to constantly be adapting, changing as the world changes, and especially as things like artificial intelligence become part of the mainstream. If you think of us, we're a Media 24 is obviously a media company. We publish news and information and about an entertainment in our newspapers, magazines, many websites and apps. Really what this program does is it begins to, so we're made up of teams of journalists historically. And what this program does is it acknowledges that there's an enormous amount to be learnt from people on the technology side, that really we are a media company, but we're also a technology company. So, for us in the past, always, people with IT skills where they were in a support function. They would help you if you couldn't log in or you forgot your password. Whereas now, the people on this call and who work in technology in our company are right at the center of the business. No decision can be taken without consulting them. But we also recognize that bringing very clever data engineers and software engineers together is not all you have to do. So in a company like ours, and that's what the Future Skills Program does, is it brings together people with that set of skills, along with journalists, our salespeople, our advertising people, our designers, our HR people, even into work together in order to come up with new ideas for our business.
Sure. Yeah, that's wonderful, because all of these things probably weren't there when they were at university, and now to equip them for the future, using the skills they already know, but just equipping them better for work, in the times that we are living in. So what skills, Adam, would you recommend should one develop to ensure that they will find a job in the fourth industrial revolution, in the times we are living in?
Well, obviously, and the people on this call from Media 24 they have a quite advanced set of skills in computing broadly, and that's obviously a major advantage. It's very much in demand, so we have to be very nice to them and treat them very well. But there are also, it's also important for us to think of careers as a whole. And to recognize that really a career is not a single track, that regardless of what area you specialize and you choose to study, you could do computer science, or you could do architecture or journalism, and you develop a particularly strong skill in that area, technical skill. There's a bunch of other skills that overlay that, and we look a lot for that. And these are skills in things like communication. We look a lot for people who are curious about the world. Curiosity and being interested in the world has become a very important thing. Any of the people in here from Media 24 are very highly qualified, have worked for many years, but they've come on the Future Skills Program because they want to continue learning. So they're still interested. They want to learn more. So we talk about T-shaped people with deep skills in a particular area, but a broad set across the top of other skills that include communication, creativity. So it's important to develop a range of different skills.
Yeah, so it's almost, if I understand it correctly, it's almost like balancing IQ and EQ. So you can't just survive on one or the other. There has to be a combination of both to be successful. Do I understand that? Is it almost like that? So the correct summary.
Yeah, that sounds exactly right, Betty. It's you get a particular area that you study in, and you get a whole lot of skills when you go and you study at university. But when you get into the workplace, there's a whole other bunch of skills that are very important, in addition to your particular technical skill.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to meet some of our Future Skills Program colleagues. And find out from them what how they got to Media 24 and to be the chosen career that they are working in. First up, I'm going to welcome Monica. So Monica, tell us a bit about your studies and how you became a data engineer, and most importantly, please tell us what a data engineer does.
Hi, Betty. I studied information technology at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, and I graduated with a BTech in 2005. I got my first job as a junior programmer at Nedbank 6 months before I graduated, and I was working mainly in C# and VB.NET. And then a year afterwards, when I was working, the team that was in BI, they were short-staffed, so they needed helpers. So my manager lent me to that team. That's actually when I actually started getting introduced into business and analysis and ETL development. I loved it so much that I asked my then manager to stay in the team, and then she allowed me. And then my journey started. And then over the past years, I worked in different industries. I worked in retail, finance, telecoms, and here I am in the media industry as a data engineer. So what does a data engineer do? So what basically a data engineer do is that they design, they build pipelines that transport and transform data into a central place, or a central warehouse. So basically the data came from different sources, and when it reaches the end user, especially in my case, data scientists, it's actually in a highly usable form.
All right. So basically what happens is that all the data comes to a certain point and you channel it into the right direction almost.
Exactly, almost like a plumber.
All right. So you're the data plumbers. All right. So next on, we've got Kevin. Kevin, please tell us about your studies and how you became a computer software developer. And then also what a computer software developer does, basically in a nutshell.
Thank you. From a young age, I was always interested in how things work, and I like to tinker and create new things. I was fortunate enough to have access to a computer from a young age, and I remember using a programming book that my dad had lying around in the house to write some of my first basic programs. And that initial inquisitiveness to me was the start of a lifelong journey and love for IT. Now, as to what we do as developers, we create, maintain, and run some of the systems on the internet that people use every day, like online search, news, and social media. But just like Facebook has a lot of data to process and store, we also need to be able to retrieve that data and show it to our users reliably, even when computers and networks fail. We also integrate different systems with each other. So for instance, we might take an old ATM system and hook it up to a fancy new AI. And these systems might never have been designed to talk to each other. So on News 24, for instance, we're busy with a massive upgrade and trying to enhance the experience there. We're also bringing in feeds like the IEC election results, matric results, and even things like Formula One. And we try and make those part of our offering to our readers.
Sure, it's very interesting. So we've now met the data plumber, and now we go to Alex, who is the data scientist. So Alex, please tell us about your studies and how you became a data scientist. And so we now know what the data engineer does. What does a data scientist do?
Okay, first of all, when I went to university, I didn't know about data science, and it wasn't available for me to study. So I started somewhere completely different. I did a bachelor's in molecular biology and biotechnology, majoring in biochemistry. I then went into plant biotechnology, where I did some research studying drought tolerance in soybeans. I did an honors and a master's degree in there. And after that, I didn't want to work on plants anymore. And so I started looking elsewhere, and that's where I discovered data science. There was a lecturer, Andrew Ng at Stanford University back then, who was putting his lectures online. And that's where I discovered data science. And I thought, gee, this stuff's amazing. I need to know it now. So then I started upskilling myself, doing online courses on Udacity. And I discovered a data science platform called Kaggle.com. And I started started looking at other data scientists' solutions. And I just got addicted to it and just started doing it more and more and more, and kept doing it as a hobby. I then went to do a PhD in bone stem cell research, on bone stem cells. But but I was still carrying on doing competitions on Kaggle, and I collaborated with one of the data engineers at Media 24 on one of the on one of the competitions, and we performed reasonably well. And then he told me about a job that was available there, and I so applied, and the rest is history. Now I'm there.
All right. And basically, and what does a data scientist do?
Right. So data science is a interdisciplinary field, so it can be applied to most of the other fields, anywhere where there's a large amount of data readily available. At Media 24, you've heard that Kevin might, Kevin might help us trigger events for when users open articles or land on the homepage. And those events are then collected and piped into a data warehouse by our data engineers like Monica, who then store it in a way that's very efficient for me to access and to analyze. And then that data I then further analyze, and I build models to predict what articles people are likely to click on or which users are likely to subscribe. I then go back to Monica, and then she helps me pipe it back to where we could use it. And so, yeah, that's what we're typically doing.
All right. Also very interesting. And I think one of the things that you're an example of is that we've learned through our previous career webinars is that many learners or students start out in a certain study area and then they realize, but there's, they get to know other study areas that they might be more interested in. And what I see from all of you is a passion for what you're doing. I think that's one of the most important things is you must have a passion for your job. Even though you spend a lot of time studying towards a certain degree and honors and so on, you went after your passion, and that's what's very important when choosing a career is that it's something that you really enjoy doing. So when we talk about artificial intelligence and the fourth industrial revolution, there's so many abbreviations and technical terms. So I just want to ask Prof. Greiling to maybe explain a bit for us some of the terms, such as computer science, information systems, and IT. What do those terms mean, and how do they differ?
Yes, I often get asked this question, and then I'm kind of very nervous when I answer because I'm not convinced that I totally understand myself, but I'll try my best in layman's terms so that the learners can try and distinguish between the three. Computer science, I would basically describe as the science behind the development of software. So the science behind the writing of programs. And it's not just writing of programs. It's the science behind databases, data warehousing, data science, the science. So it's the writing of the code, if you want to keep it very simple. Then information systems is probably best described as the use of that code. How would I apply the software that has been written in a business or in an hospital? Or how would I apply it anywhere in the world where I'm using computers? Traditionally, computer science would be linked to a BSc degree combined with subjects like mathematics, physics, statistics, applied mathematics, where an information systems degree would be traditionally linked to a BCom degree, like accounting, and so the other subjects you'll be doing would be accounting, business management, economics. At Nelson Mandela University, we have hybrid degrees. We have BSc and BCom degrees, but all our students do a combination of computer science and information modules. Then you get the term IT, or information technology. Now, very basically is described, that would mainly focus in on the technology that is used while you use the programs. But I think sometimes we use IT, especially in the Eastern Cape and in Port Elizabeth, meaning other stuff. First of all, schools present a subject called IT, which is actually a combination of computer science, information systems, and IT. So that name IT at school is a misnomer, I would say, because in that subject they kind of connected to all three disciplines. And then the old technicons, and we still have those diplomas in universities. Sometimes people say, I'm going to study IT, but they actually mean I want to do a diploma. So we also need to distinguish between the concept of a degree and a diploma. A degree is a multidisciplinary qualification. You will find very few degrees that are single discipline. So as I said, if you come and study a BSc in computer science in your first year, you'll do maths and physics and statistics, applied maths, those kind of subjects. If you come and do a BCom in computer science in your first year and second year, third year, you'll be doing accounting, business management, economics. Where when you're doing a diploma, it is generally seen as a single discipline qualification. So a diploma in software development will mainly be software development, computing related subjects. And each matriculant needs to understand the difference between these things before you make a choice. And again, you're welcome to contact me. That is one part of my job, to inform learners on the different choices here. It's whether you want to do a BCom or a BSc, whether you want to do a degree or a diploma, on all those choices, you need to be clear on that when you're at school and making your decisions.
Yeah, for those learners who'd like to know where to contact Prof. Reiling, you will see on the banner at the bottom of the screen, there is Prof. Reiling's email address, and you are welcome to contact him with your questions. Prof. Reiling, also, I would like to ask you, software development and computer programming, is that a scarce skill? And what are the typical job opportunities in this field?
Okay, whether it's a scarce skill, I would obviously subjectively want to say it's the scarcest skill in South Africa at the moment, but let's play safe and say it's one of the scarcest skills in South Africa. All the universities and higher education institutions are simply not producing enough software developers at this stage, or computing qualifications. And there's many reasons for that. As the economy develops, it becomes more and more dependent on software. So, and when you get more dependent on software, you get dependent on software developers and people that know how to use the software, how to apply the software. So there's a desperate shortage. I wish there was a stronger word, but there's a desperate shortage of people that get our qualifications. Just as an example, there's a company, and I won't mention them now, in Port Elizabeth, Kleberga, who told me a month ago that in the next year or two, they need to employ 200 new software developers. There's a company in East London that got a huge grant from Europe, and they are looking to employ 150 IT or software developer peoples in the next year or two. That's two companies. Our department produces only 80 a year. And combined in the country, we're just not producing enough. So my main message to learners out there that need to make a choice, let no one ever tell you there's computers in all homes, etc. There's no career opportunities in this. It is simply not true. Our students can often pick and choose between 6, 7, 8 jobs, or they take a holiday for a month and then they find a job within a week. Remind me your second question.
What about the typical job opportunities that are
Yes.
in this field?
Yeah, the typical job opportunities, we did some research a few years ago, and it's probably much worse now. And we found something like 300 job titles in our discipline. And there's new ones created kind of probably weekly. Who would have thought being a social page manager would be a job 5 years ago? So it's very difficult to say to you, these are the job opportunities. I always say when I talk to learners, when you go and study law, you're going to become a lawyer or an advocate. When you go and study medics, you're going to become a doctor. But in computer science and IT and information systems, that's impossible to say. It has its advantages, but also its disadvantages. The disadvantages is that you as a matriculant or a learner kind of need to take a step of faith and saying, I'm going in this general direction, but I don't really know where I'm going to end up. But that's obviously a huge advantage as well. You're totally in control of your career path. It's so flexible. We're talking now in a media environment, but you could end up in a farming environment. You could end up in literally any discipline that you can think of being in computing. I've had students that completed their degrees, and they've literally reported back that in the first year they were doing 3 different jobs. They changed 3 times within the first year. Obviously, that brings a lot of stress. You're not going to sit in the same job for the rest of the year of your life. But as I said, you've got the flexibility of career choices that I really think very, very, very few other disciplines will offer you.
I think what is very important here is to note that it's not only about having choices, but having opportunities at a time when our unemployment rates are so high. And I think offline we chatted, and you said, Prof. Reiling, that there are actually quite a lot of bursaries available in this field, and that those students who might not have the means to go and study at university might find it interesting to know that there are quite a lot of bursaries available for people who've got the potential to become computer scientists.
Yes, definitely. Because of the desperate shortage, we're finding more and more companies that are saying we need to recruit these guys before they get their degree. So the bursary opportunities are really increasing every year.
Yeah, that's wonderful to know. My next question is to Monica. I would like you to just explain what important role does data engineering play in artificial intelligence, and why would anyone consider a career in data engineering?
Well, Betty, data engineering provides the foundation of successful deep learning, because without quality data, there's no successful AI. So data engineering now plays a role in the collection, the moving, the storing, the exploration, and transforming of that data in a way that it can be used in a useful way in AI. So why would anyone choose a career in data engineering? Is because there's never been a demand in data like the way it is now, and some years to come as well. So as a data engineer, you are actually in the forefront of this whole amazing experience, and you are constantly learning. And if you are somebody who is enthusiastic about learning, data engineering is the skill to have, because really you never stop learning, and like we know what data can do. I think one of Prof's students actually spoke about amazing predictions that can be built, like predicting about what's going to happen, in health and all those kind of stuff. So really, it is the right choice to do if you are really enthusiastic about learning.
Yes, and learning is what we all have to do. That's one of the things that will take us into the future. You have to learn to stay future fit and adapt and survive and thrive. Alex, what do you like about data science, and what does a typical day in the life look as far as a data scientist goes?
What I love about data science is the diversity. I mean, one day we could be working on predicting drought from drone images. The next day you could be doing diagnostics on X-rays from people and trying to diagnose diseases. So it has that, array of opportunities. At Media 24, what my typical day looks like. In the morning when I wake up, my models typically run through the night, so then I'll have a look in the morning, see how they performed, see if there were any anomalies that need to be investigated. And after that, then I'll also have a look at Google Cloud's announcements. They're releasing new features just about every day, so I have to keep abreast of what's new. And then business also sometimes comes up with questions like how many people are reading rugby in KZN right now. Then I'll go ahead and build a dashboard to allow them to explore readership across the provinces so that they can find the answers for themselves. After that, then I'll also have a look at the models that I am running in production and try to conceptualize new ways of improving it, kind of creating my own little Kaggle competition in production. And then we'll also conceptualize new ideas with the team of what we could produce. So yeah, there's lots of different things that we're working on all the time.
Yeah, I think there's never a dull moment, even though you work with data. So, Kevin, from your side as a software developer, why do we need normal developers if artificial intelligence is doing so much nowadays? And can you take me through a day in the life of a software developer?
Yes, so I think it's important to make the distinction between what AI does and what humans or software developers do. So AI is very good at sorting through vast amounts of data and finding patterns that us as humans might never have seen. Software developers or people are very good at creating new tools and new ways to interact with digital products and digital solutions. So for instance, if you look at a self-driving car, AI might take the executive decisions whether to accelerate or stop or swerve out for someone, but you still need the system that runs the GPS and the engine and makes sure that those things are running optimally. And AI isn't involved in those decisions. As for day in the life of a dev, we're very focused on routines. In the morning, we start off with a daily stand-up where we say what we've done yesterday, what are we going to do today, and if there's anything stopping us from doing our job. We also have bi-weekly meetings where we see if we're still on track and we plan for the next 2 weeks. And we have some stakeholder meetings in between where we showcase what we've done to our stakeholders. When we aren't meeting, we're working, which is probably about 95% of the time. It's in front of a computer, and we could be creating new features, fixing some bugs, or even testing another colleague's work. When we have some really hectic technical issues, we pair up with another developer and we solve those things in teams. We also make a lot of time for research and development because we're constantly learning and new technologies are constantly coming online. At Media24, we have access to two of the greatest online learning platforms that are out there, My Academy and Udemy. And then when we're in the office and we have a break, we make time for fun. We might play some table tennis or foosball, and we also have competitions between different departments. And then most importantly, we try and maintain a work-life balance. So as developers, we can take our machine home and continue working, but there is a risk of burnout, so you need to manage that.
Yeah, it's all about balance in the end. So Adam, my next question is to you. Does the fourth industrial revolution mean robots will take human jobs?
Yes, it does. And no, it doesn't at the same time. So certainly, you know, there's been an enormous amount of change in the workplace. A lot of robots are taking human jobs. The World Economic Forum has shown us that today 30% of all tasks in the workplace are done by machines of some kind. And in the next 5 to 10 years, that'll increase to 50%. So it is a real thing. There's some important things to keep in mind, though. The one thing is it's not new. This kind of change has been coming since the late 1700s with the first industrial revolution, where you know, steam engines and electricity first began to transform jobs. And we've seen it's obviously increased through the 20th century as computerization has advanced at this rapid pace. So that and initially it was fairly low level jobs. You know, it was jobs like cashiers in any any job that you can, any task that you can think of that takes you less than a second or a second to complete can be automated. So if you think of an ATM, that was a machine that took a human job. We don't have to go into a bank anymore. In fact, we don't even really need ATMs anymore. Or many of us don't anyway. But through the 20th century, it also went into, out of those lower level jobs, think of the motor industry, manufacturing a whole car, a human hand barely touches that process. And it went to higher and higher levels of jobs, to the point where now it's also affecting, things in finance, in journalism. It's even affecting us, where a robot can take a press release from a company that might be announcing its annual results and can rewrite it in a way that's perfectly readable and usable and publishable. So it is affecting more and more jobs. I think that there's some things that are important to keep in mind. And one of those is that it's good to also consider those other skills, those innately human skills, like teamwork, communication, collaboration, empathy. Those sorts of things are the things that computers will never be able to replace. The other side of it is also that it's useful to think of technology as at an equal pace. While it may have taken human jobs away, it's also creating human jobs, more and more jobs. And these we see all the time. Miners used to be people who went down underground. Now a data miner, that role did not exist until the last decade or so. Think of somebody like, the one example I always like is PewDiePie. One of the world's million subscribers. That didn't exist. That job certainly didn't exist until the last decade. So there are, and on the other side, big media companies like the New York Times, probably the biggest media company in the world, or the most recognized in the world, they have just over 3 million subscribers. So there's an individual who's created a whole new world of work. So yes, it is taking jobs. Robots are taking human jobs, but at the same time, individuals can develop themselves in ways where they can work in fields and develop skills that mean their jobs won't be taken. And at the same time, new jobs are also being created through technology all the time.
Yeah, well, that is good to know that at least if you stay with the times and you keep on learning that, and there are jobs being created, you must just keep track of what skills there is needed at that specific time. Prof. Reiling, we talked earlier about having a passion for your work, and what are the personality skills that you think people need for for this type of career?
So I always like talking about this because many people's only perception of our careers is by watching Hollywood movies. And often the Hollywood movies or your TV series would kind of characterize a computer software guy, someone that sits somewhere alone in a room in front of his computer programming the whole day, never interacts with people. And that kind of makes me worry that people would be considering this career and then saying, no, but I like working with people. I'm not that kind of personality, so this is not going to work for me. The bottom line is that software development is mostly, it's been referred to that earlier tonight, is mostly a team effort. You obviously at some stage got to go and sit in front of your computer and code, but very seldom you'll be working on code on your own. You will have to interact with the client. You will have to interact with other developers. You will have to interact with the graphic designers that do the interface of your program. So we always joke, we say we love the nerds, they can come. the guys that don't really, the introverts, but there's a lot of space for the extroverts. There's a lot of space for the people that like working in teams as well. What I have to say, it's probably not the personality that plays a role, but it's the attitude. Because computer science and programming and IT is such a fast developing discipline, you need to have the attitude of wanting to learn new stuff. You're not going to walk out of varsity and not learn anything until you retire. You're going to have to learn like you're just now daily. You need to have the attitude of experimenting, of trying new stuff, of being inquisitive, of being someone that wants to know more than your lecturer. Some of our Bright Sparks graduates, I always joke when I see them and I say, don't think I taught you much. At least I gave you a piece of paper. So you need to have that attitude. I want to learn more than what the lecturer or the teacher can teach me. And then you need to have an attitude of hard work. These guys earn wonderful salaries, but they also work hard. And sometimes there's stress because you're writing software that runs people's lives, that manages people's bank balances. And if you make mistakes, etc., it could cost people a lot. So there's stress involved when you write software. But then obviously the advantages are numerous. But personality-wise, I don't think there's really personalities that play a role, but attitude is very important when you choose this career.
And what would your advice be to learners what must they do at school to prepare for studies in this direction?
Unfortunately, when you're talking a degree in computer science, whether it's BCom or a BSc or computer engineering, your main gatekeeping subject is mathematics, not mathematics literacy, mathematics. At our varsity, that at this stage, it's a minimum of 65% in matric. I think other universities, it might even be higher. So regarding your school subjects, you need to work on your maths. I was reminded a few days ago that there are people that are developers that struggle with maths. I'm not saying you can't become a developer, but the reality of qualifications at university is that for degrees in this discipline, you need mathematics. If you're at a school that does offer IT as a subject, take it. Get your feet wet and start programming. But then once again, if you're at a school that doesn't offer IT, that doesn't close your doors. We have about 200 first years in our first year classes, and we never have more than 20 that have done IT at school. I always say that what you've taught at school in IT, we catch up by June in your first year. But there's obviously advantages to come to varsity and you've done some IT, but the other guys are going to catch you up very soon. And then it's also good to have good language skills, to be able to communicate, to be able to write reports. So don't underestimate your essays and your orals at school. They play a huge role in programming. But the bottom line is maths and IT if you can do it.
Yeah, it's basically, like we said, it's a balance. It's the balance between, if you say good writing skills, who would have thought as data scientists would need good writing skills, but it is important to develop those as well. So Monica, I would like to ask you, what skills does one need to have, to become a data engineer? What skills would you advise or suggest is good skills for data engineers?
So one would need to have some strong SQL skills, which is a database staple, and also some programming. The language that is usually favored when you working with data is Python, and it's quite easy also to learn. And then one needs to know also the different cloud platforms that are available. And also you need to also have some skills in analytics. You need to know how to model data, and also some visualization and dashboard making skills. So these are the basics that one needs, but there's many more that you can learn also over the years.
All right. And Alex, from your side, how do you become a data scientist? What skills was also involved in data, being a data scientist?
Don't do it like I did it. That being said, data science is a multidisciplinary field, and so if you look at most data scientists that are employed today, they do have very diverse backgrounds. Just in our team, we have one who's got a master's in music. We have two one has a master's in astronomy and another one has a PhD in astronomy. So we come from diverse backgrounds, but the general requirement that recruiters are looking for is a master's or a PhD in a quantitative field. Obviously, studying computer science would be perfect, right up that alley. Yeah. Then, like Monica said, SQL and Python right now is the flavor of the day, but these things do change over time. And I would also like to say that if you are interested in data science, or you're kind of still sussing around whether you want to be interested, go look at Kaggle. There's plenty of examples there of how data science is being applied, and it's just a fantastic platform for data scientists. And the other quite fun one is AWS Deep Racer, where you can see users racing self-driving remote control cars in virtual environments. Yeah, have a look.
All right. And then my question is to Kevin is to become learners who want to become software engineers, which steps should they take now?
So as Prof. Heiling mentioned, having maths and computer science at school level does lay a very strong foundation. And also, as he mentioned, making the decision to do diploma versus degree. This is very important from a career point of view. The people, unfortunately, with degrees do have more opportunities, and they start off with a higher salary. Yes, it is more work to get a degree, but it might be worth it from the start. Also, when you finish a degree, don't think you're done. You might want to do your honors or your master's degree, so IT is a field that you always learn until the day you die, pretty much. Then start getting a feel for the direction you want to go into. So the IT field, as Prof. Heiling mentioned, is massive. You've got software developers, hardware engineers, you've got people doing network architecture, IoT, cryptocurrencies, and blockchain. And the way you get a feel for what you want to do is you start playing around. So if you can get time on a computer, that'll be very valuable. You can start programming, for instance. You have languages like .NET and Java, which are free to use and play around with. Or even better, if you have some pocket money, you can buy little IoT devices like this little thing. This is a Wemos D1 Mini. And I use this as a temperature sensor in my house. I have 13 of these. So I really know what temperature it is in my house. Or you can get little devices like this. This is a Raspberry Pi. It's a mini computer, and this opens the world world of opportunities. We use this to manage our surveillance system at home. And then I'd say get familiar with what's happening in the cloud space. So corporate companies have moved their on-premise servers to pretty much exclusively to run off the cloud. So if you know what's happening in Amazon Web Services and Azure, that might also help you make that decision where you want to fit into IT. But the best is go out and play.
Yeah, that's basically how you learn, is through play and making mistakes. So being part of the fourth industrial revolution means constant learning, and that's what we've heard over and over tonight, and keeping up to date with the latest technologies and innovation. And Alex mentioned two websites or platforms where he goes and gets his updates, and we did run a banner to give you the information. It is the Kaggle website as well as AWS Deep Racer. So go and explore those. We're going to now go to questions, live questions from our audience, and we will bring them up on the screen quickly. Those questions are from our panelists, from our live audience. Jared Thomas, I think this question is for Alex, even though you did it quite longer than normal. How long would you normally need to study to become a data scientist?
Okay, so what I'm seeing most recruiters are looking for is like a master's or a PhD, but I'm hoping in the future it'll only be down to an honors where it's a bit more focused and maybe an honors specifically at data science, because I think it's 3 years undergraduate, another year for honors, and then another 2-3 years possibly for the masters, depending on how it goes and type of masters you're doing. So it could be a long time, but Prof, I think you'll probably be able to answer what programs you guys have.
Yes, it's going to be at least an honors, combined with probably subjects like mathematics and statistics. But then a master's, as Alex has said, is preferable in this kind of line. But yeah, at least 4 years, maybe 6 years. You're not going to get this overnight.
All right. And our next question, it's from Roger Thomas. Where's the most demanded at present for diploma or micro degrees or formal bachelor's degrees or B degrees? Prof. Freiling, I think it's for you.
Yes, I think Kevin mentioned that the fact that you have a multidiscipline background probably means that you could apply to different disciplines and into different job and different companies. But saying that, I've seen guys that did a diploma that works for Amazon, which is probably one of the top employers of software developers in the country. But the multidiscipline degree qualification probably gives you a bigger scope to study. I always say when you decide on the qualification, obviously look at your own preference, but also look at the entrance requirement. So you must kind of try and go for the qualification with the highest possible entrance requirement that you can get into, because that is an indication of where the demand is and what you'll be taught. But it is a sensitive question to answer. You must take the box that fits you and try and get as best as possible qualification. All
right. And I think we've got time for one more question. It's from Queen Nkalake. I'm in high school. Which website should I watch to get introduced to IT? Kevin, maybe you can suggest a couple of websites.
So from a programming side of, I'd say go to W3 Schools. They're a nice place to start off programming. You can interactively program via the web front end. You don't need to install anything. You just go to their website. And you can start off with HTML, so it's like web programming, or even low-level C program or C# programming, if you'd like. And then, of course, YouTube's your friend, but yeah, there's a lot of videos on there.
All right. Okay. So, and we run it. We'll run it in the banner as well. So I think that's all the time that we have at this stage. I want to thank all our learners and parents who attended this webinar, and you will find more information on our upcoming webinars on the Express Facebook page. You will also find a link to the recording of today's webinar. Then a special thank you to our panelists for their time, and I'm sure that you've definitely lit a spark or steered many of our learners watching this in the right direction to make this important decision. And I would like to give every panelist a chance to end off with a final word of advice. I see we've lost connection with Adam, but if we're going to try and get him back, but let's start with Prof. Jean Greiling. The final word of advice from you.
Yes, first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to chat to learners. The advice is do your homework, ask questions, find out, and I trust you'll give my email address. You're more than welcome to email me. This is my job and my passion to inform learners and parents about all the choices in our career. But you need to do your homework well. Don't just make choices based on rumors.
Thank you, Prof. Greiling. Monica, a last word from you.
Yes, I would like to tell the learners also to say, learning never stops, and they must never be afraid to make mistakes, because mistakes makes you a great learner, and you learn from those mistakes and makes you a better person. So all the best in the future.
Thank you, Monica. Alex, from your side?
Find something that keeps you motivated. Staying motivated in your studies is very important. It drove me through a lot of my degrees.
Wonderful. And Kevin, from your side?
I'd say you never stop learning, and work hard, but play hard as well, and stay positive. With a great attitude, you can get you far.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, all our panelists. And thank you to our learners for watching. We will see you at our next live career webinar, where we will look into the opportunities in the field of education. This will take place at 5 p.m. on Thursday, August the 19th. Good evening.